Welcome to the Bend Like Bamboo podcast, where we will explore the incredible power of resilience, mental strength, and adaptability. In each episode, I'll be sitting down with inspiring guests from business leaders and entrepreneurs to celebrities and everyday heroes. We'll dive deep into their personal journeys, uncovering the secrets behind their ability to bend without breaking in the face of life's challenges. Join me as we learn from these remarkable individuals and discover practical tools to enhance our own resilience and well-being. Together, we'll explore how flexibility of the mind, body, and spirit can help us to reach our full potential in all areas of life. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and empowered on the Bend Like Bamboo podcast. Good morning, David Goldsmith. Thank you so much for coming on to my podcast today.
So good to see you and be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. I had to because we've had such a wonderful collaboration together. I met you at the Commons, actually, when I was presenting a lunch and learn at the South Yarra branch. And you very lovingly came along and checked out my lunch and learn, discussing the power of kinesiology and resilience. And you grabbed my book and we connected since then, and I've done some work with you. So I had to share your wonderful work with the world.
Thank you. It's been a treat to meet you, and I still think you're an amazing presenter, and you just did such a magnetic job communicating all of the interesting places and things you've been through personally, and I'm still moved by your story.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I appreciate that. And I think it's wonderful having someone like you in my life where you can help to coach me as well. So while I'm a coach, you're a coach, but together we can help each other. And you've really helped me a lot to work through some really important, life work, life journey, and just understanding myself more, and helping me to understand what my superpowers are as well, which has been, most helpful.
Well, I think coaching is not a hierarchical thing. I think we all can use and value other perspectives and other viewpoints and other people with different levels of experience, partnering with us, looking with us, connecting with us, helping us see things that we don't see. We all have a lot of blind spots. And if we have two people in the car driving, we're going to see different things than just one person. So I think
It's a great analogy. Yeah, it's a great analogy. Yeah. Yeah. And when you can share those insights with someone, at the right time, in the right way, it can change their world. It can change their life. It can really help them to transform. Sometimes you can say one thing and someone transforms something they've been working through for 10 years,
Yes, but sometime, and I had a beautiful example of this. I was talking to a colleague who is thinking about writing a book. And she said, I'm really stuck because I don't think I'm the right person to write this book. I get it. I could do it, but I don't think I'm the right one. And so she says, what do you see? So I paused and I said, you've been getting ready to write this book since you were a little girl. You have been committed to these kinds of things. You've been thinking around this, that, the other thing. And I went on for about 5 minutes of all the things that I'd learned and seen about her that had me be absolutely certain she was the one to write this book. And at the end of it, she was burst out into tears.
Yeah.
And we chatted and she said, you actually fully see me, and you're right. I am the one to write this book, but I hadn't put all that together in the way that you just did for me now. And she's irrevocably different from that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's such a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. You can change someone's life by sharing an observation that's been well thought through. As a coach, your skill set, you would be able to have the ability to put all the pieces together relatively quickly and just get into the very crux of what might be holding someone back. And it's very difficult to see this for ourselves. And that's why coaching, I think, is really important for not only when we're going through difficult periods or chapters in our lives, but also when we're thriving and we're, you know, very busy on top of our game, but we also need to perform at our best. And, you know, as you'll know, as I know as well, working with CEOs and leaders, it's very lonely at the top.
Very. I was working with one of those lonely leaders today, and because I pop into their life once or twice a week for an hour, I'm paying very close attention to the moments and the stories they share and the evidence, and I'm putting it all into a big database. And so I'm able to say, hey, do you remember that thing you told me 2 calls ago and the thing you just said today? I'm seeing a pattern there. What do you think?
Yeah.
And they're able to back up and say, yeah, you're right, there is a pattern there. But in the volume of their life as they're running along, there's so many things going that they're not stopping and pulling those data points out necessarily. They don't have that time for reflection or observation from a distance.
Yeah. And to have a right arm like that in your life, personally and professionally, is a game changer. And it gives you confidence, and you know, someone knows you so well. The clients that I work with, you know, most of them have been with me for over a decade, sometimes like 12, 13 years, and you get to know each other very intimately and all of their stuff. And it's always a safe space of no judgment and just helping that person to um, create the best environment in their minds and bodies to be able to overcome their challenges. Yeah, and that trust that's built over a period of time is very special.
Yeah, I would say that the clients who are CEOs and at the top of their organizations are the ones that I'm working with the longest. And
Mm,
if you think about it, it actually makes sense. As we talked about a minute ago, they're very lonely because you can't go to your board and say, hey, I'm not sure what we should do, or you can't go to the people that are working for you and puzzle about that, or say, I'm having these weird things together. And sometimes these folks are single parents, or they don't have a partner, or if they do have a partner, it's not someone that they can bring all the challenging stuff that's going on in their workplace to that conversation for whatever reason. So
mm,
when they find somebody who they can trust, who's gotten to know them, who also has their best interest at heart and
mm,
is going to challenge them to keep being better and grow, you
mm,
don't want to let go of those people. And it's different than a friend, because friends have agendas. Friends care about maintaining that relationship, care about having it be two-way. But when I'm working with you, I'm here just for you. I don't need anything for me. I'm just here to have you grow and get as much insight and whatever else you need in that time together. And that's a really interesting gift. And it's different than a friend. Not that a friend can't do parts of it at times.
true. Very true. And you just gave a perfect description of what coaching is. Yeah. What else is coaching?
A lot of my clients I treat like athletes. And if you think about some of our best Olympic athletes as an example, all of them have coaches, and they all have coaches that they trust to have their back. And these are people that are not hired or working with them to be nice to them, to coddle them, to make it easy for them, but to actually be able to see them for what they can be and then create the conditions, the environments, the structures, the training, the conversation, the motivation to help get them there.
Mm,
So a lot of my clients, I ask the question, it sounds like you want to be pushed and grow as quickly as you can. Is that true? And they say, yes. And I say, okay, I'm going to push. And they say, thank you, because they aren't necessarily have anybody else in their life. So now it's not my agenda, it's their agenda, but I'm creating a rhythm, I'm creating a pace, I'm creating a training schedule, I'm creating a development schedule, I'm creating opportunities and ways for them to grow and get better in
yeah.
ways that they wouldn't necessarily have thought of on their own.
Yeah, it's a mixture of you doing that, isn't it? Where you are giving them work to do and to think about, and you're coaching, delivering strategies, but you're also often there talking things through, just that person where you can raise, oh, this is the biggest stress that I'm going through this week, and I'm, problem solving, I'm trying to overcome. And it's just that other trustworthy person who also has, their own business and has business experience, but also that psychological aspect and training and experience and skill set of coaching. It's an all-rounder, wonderful trust that you can, connection you can create with your coach, because you can throw around personal setbacks you might be facing, but it's always integrated into your business, isn't it? Your emotional well-being and the performance of your relationships, interpersonal connections. All of this is a mirror image of how well your business is going to be doing. It's often a very emotional conversation when you're talking about how well a business is doing as well.
Yes. And people are bringing their whole selves to work, and all the things that affected us in our childhood and growing up that have us behave a certain way show up how we deal with stress and how we deal with complicated conversations and how we deal with challenge. It's going to show up at work and personally. So we can work across the entire spectrum, oftentimes more effectively.
Mm. After all the clients that you've seen so far in your life, and we'll talk about your background in a second and all the wonderful things that you've achieved, and I'm wondering, out of all the clients that you've seen, what do you think holds us back from overcoming our setbacks or achieving our goals? What's the most common thing you see as the most common denominator?
The most common denominator is not putting ourselves in an environment to grow.
Mm.
To think we're fine and we can just manage it and take care of it on our own, but not have the structure, the reflection, the perspective, and the plan to grow and accelerate. It's very easy just to kind of plod along, get
Yeah.
up, do everything. And, there's plenty of work coming at us. There's plenty of emails coming at us. There's plenty of messages coming at us. So we can be very, very busy and get a lot done, but not necessarily get anywhere.
And it's our personality types too, because one of my beautiful clients has a wonderful business called The Elements, and she helps clients to understand themselves through archetypes. And I know one of the archetypes is plotter. People, that's just that's their trait, that's their personalities. They'll tend to plod along. Or you could be more a driver. So it's just in you to drive things forward, to put yourself in a growth environment. So we all have different traits, I guess, and how we apply them is how we'll move forward. So we all probably need different things, don't we, to be able to excel, different
Yeah.
types of help.
Yeah. And sometimes those people that are drivers that are driving in their environment often are very asynchronous and very focused on driving without necessarily having an impact and a sense of the impact on those around them.
That's right. So it's a different set of problems when you're the driver.
Yes. Yep.
Mm. Do you have any testing, or how do you analyze what your client is at the start? Like what kind of personality they've got, so you know how to treat them and train them?
I differ from many coaches in that I jump right in. I start from whatever I see. I start from whatever I notice. I start from the thing that's off or the thing that's an aberration. And you could talk about that for your own self in our conversation if you want to, but literally that's where I start.
Yeah.
And I use that as a place to go in. And then I expand from there and learn what there is to learn. And then
Yeah.
I'm matching up their reaction to that entry point against a huge pattern database. And
Mm.
that's helping me understand, oh, this, and this, well, then this, and this. So I know where to go and I know where to move much more quickly. So I don't have to go through a long, complicated assessment, but I pick a place to start. I pick a hypothesis. I go. If it
Mm.
works, we keep
Mm.
going. If it doesn't work, we go and try a different place. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I favor action and speed rather than
yeah.
figuring
Yeah.
out the right thing at the beginning.
Well, I think you've just got a really powerful intuition, and obviously you've built up a skill set around coaching, which just gets integrated into your approach. We should talk about, how you've helped me. I'm happy to share that. It was very powerful from, just the moment we had an exchange. You shared after my lunch and learn that you enjoyed it, and that you grabbed my book, and we organized to have a coffee. And then when we did, you asked my permission if it would be okay to share some feedback around what you had noticed around my energy as I was talking through my hour lunch and learn. You noticed there was a certain section where, I was a bit off, or it just didn't, I was a bit blocked around my throat area. And whilst deep down inside, instinctively, I knew that, I knew a little bit about why that was, but not the insightful way that you helped me to understand it. And something just dropped quite profoundly for me when you shared that in a very kind and compassionate, you asked my permission first, and then you just delivered it. And then something shifted inside of me that helped me to want to overcome that in a more effortless way than the last 5 years that I'd been able to at all. What did you notice?
Again, remember I was talking about, I noticed where there was something discontinuous. So I noticed this great presentation, but I noticed a place where you flagged. So I was curious what that was. And as we dug in, I then said, I suspect it might be this or this. And you said, yes, it is. And, but again, I'm using that pattern database to understand what might have hooked you there. So I was able to say, I think there's something off here. I think there's a place where you're holding back or stuck. And I think it might be related to this, or this. But I would say there was, and I can't explain this part of it, but I could look at you and I could tell there was a part of you that was physically shut down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could read that in your body.
And that was from, what I was thinking and how I was feeling and what I was believing about myself, and therefore possibility for my future. And everybody on the podcast will know that the whole concept of bending like bamboo is about changing your mind about the narrative and the story that you're telling yourself, which not only dictates our biochemistry of whether we're in that stress response or whether we're more promoting growth and repair in our bodies. But, once I felt understood in your presence in a way that, I don't know, I guess it just helped me to overcome something that was very stark. And then you and I started to work together, and we've had, a couple of sessions together, and even the half a dozen times we've caught up together since then, and it would be maybe about 4 months now, I've more than tripled my business.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And in a way that's not just about growth, about really authentically understanding and moving forward into the right direction that how I should be working with clients. Not, when I get stuck, I try and do lots of different things instead of just focusing on the one thing what I should be doing. So the other question I wanted to ask you, David, was, I guess we talked about the common denominator of what holds people back. When you notice a shift, what's the most common thing that you notice when someone has that inner transformation, or is it different for everybody?
It's different for everybody, but I think a couple of things happen. One, per your example and the one I shared of the woman who wanted about writing the book, is you see something you couldn't see before. You had an inkling, you felt it, you knew there was a truth to it, but there was something about it now being live in the air that brought a different reality to it. You couldn't delude yourself or deceive yourself or pretend it wasn't there or hope it went away. but you now had another human being that saw you, and you could either at that moment say, nope, that's not it.
Mm.
Or you could say, yeah, I don't know how you knew that, but that's it. And I can now see it. So that experience of connection, of insight, of new possibility lets me know that we've broken through.
And I think that's a lot about when you're coaching or you as the practitioner, you are channeling not only your intellect, but also your intuition. And those moments are often intuitively shared from your gut feeling or a download or something within you that really is the crux of the thing or the cause. And when we're
Yes.
stressed, your client isn't able to necessarily integrate that intuition with their intellect. It's often just from intellect, pensiveness, overthinking when we get stuck in our heads, and we're only using intellect, which is usually coming from fear. But when we're coming from our intuition, we're able to integrate that into intellect, or even just really just channeling down into that download. That's when the truth comes out. And that's why it's a bit of an aha moment, I think.
For sure. And I've had to train myself over time that my intuition is reliable. And I literally early on in maybe my first 5 years of coaching, we'd be talking about something and I'd have this thought that would pop into my head that seemed unrelated. And I remember saying to folks, this is going to sound unrelated. I'm not trying to distract the conversation, but I just got this thought to ask you about this. Every single time I did that, the person said, oh no, it's completely related. And here's why. And thank you for bringing that up. So after that happened, I just learned to just trust that I'm going to have ways of knowing and seeing that I can't necessarily diagram out how it works. I just know that it works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally relate to that as a kinesiologist. And when I'm, doing the methodical Chinese medicine work, but then there's a download that comes through, and it seems, a little bit like unrelated, but it is related. And I use muscle testing to also check, should I bring this up? Is it okay? And and you've got to stay very neutral, and you sort of just present whatever that information is without you putting your own thoughts into it either. Just, hey, does this relate? Something's coming up. And I do think that they're downloads. And I think that when we're authentically, coaching our clients, there's extra help that surrounds us. And that's the most special and beautiful part of, being a coach is, you tap into, that wonderful guidance, and then you're doing it all day and every day. And there's a special energy that surrounds you that helps you to help that person, but that also inevitably builds your own intuition in your life as well, because you're exercising it like a muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, David, you're a thought leader, you're a speaker, and you're an executive coach, and you've launched and led global entities. You've done so much in your life. I'd love to know more about your career and 7 Paths Forward, your coaching business.
So I get to dabble in a lot of things. Currently, I coach a whole range of wonderful leaders, people like yourself, CEOs, people that are running their own show and looking to grow. I think that's the work I was born to do. It's the work that I get the most joy out of. I have more energy afterwards than starting. So it's a net gain for me when I'm doing that work. But I've gotten to do all kinds of cool stuff in coaching. I got to train the first coaches in Japan and get coaching in Japan started many years ago. I got to write for the Sunday London Times as a columnist, and we got to serialize coaching sessions and transcribe them and have people read week to week, back when people would read a column week after week and see what happened to this person. So I got to do coaching in 3 sessions. And what was cool about that is you had to get a lot done in 3 sessions because you had to have a beginning, middle, and end of a story to make the column and the paper work out. So that was a really interesting thing. I got to start the International Coaching Federation, which is the largest organization that certifies coaches worldwide. I literally picked the domain name, helped pick the first board of directors, picked the first phone number. Now, a whole boatload of coaches have gone and done 1,000 billion bajillion times more work to grow and make that an organization. But I helped get that thing started because I thought it was important. I've gotten to kick off a boatload of research that gets done in coaching every year. We formed the Foundation of Coaching with Ruth Ann Harnish. We ultimately merged that into the Institute of Coaching at Harvard that now spawns just a ton of research on the effectiveness of coaching. I've put on coaching conferences. I got to work with David Peterson, where we trained over 3,000 good coaches around the world to really up their game and become great coaches. And that's transformed their work and the work of their clients. So all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah. And you also do group coaching as well on internationally. Tell me about that.
I'm working with Dr. Neha Sangwan, and we are working with a group of very talented coaches on all of the things that coaches need to know about the crazy world we're in, all of the disruption, all of the change, all of the division, and how do you bring an understanding of all of that to work with your clients so that you can continue to be incredibly effective and stay ahead of all the coaching robots that are being developed?
Yeah, that's a really good idea because the world, has changed a lot in the last 5 years. And I imagine that's why coaching is taking off because everybody needs it so much more and more as time goes on.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have more coaches than ever. We have more robots than ever. And I think because of the complexity of the world, the need for coaching has never been greater. Just in the
Yeah.
world of CEOs, 25 years ago, most CEOs didn't have a coach and thought coaches were for remedial reading.
Yeah.
Now, most CEOs would be crazy not to have a coach by their side.
Yeah, and it seems to be the trend as well. Like all over Facebook and Instagram, there's just so many coaches that have really lifted their game in promotion and marketing and, writing
Yep.
books. And, it's, I'm your coach. It seems to be the trend, which is, I think, wonderful because it's a great way of explaining to people why, what are the benefits of coaching if you've studied the effectiveness, what comes up for you in the studies?
Well, the benefits of coaching is you grow faster. You can deal with all the change and nonsense in your life much more quickly. You become more resilient. You become
Mhm.
able to battle through all kinds of other things. You can see possibilities where others don't.
Yeah.
Uh, the world is spinning so quickly. The rate of change is so high.
Yeah.
And as a leader, you have to stay ahead of all of that. And so you've got to be very choosy about how you spend time, where you invest your energy, what you do. And those are hard decisions to make just inside your own head.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can coach people personally one-on-one, or you could go and coach executive teams one-on-one in the business, or even in a group, in smaller intimate groups. There's so many different ways that we can coach. And for anyone out there who's inspired to potentially become a coach, what kind of training can they do? What would you recommend where would they start?
There's a bunch of great training schools all around the globe. There's literally hundreds of schools. You can literally pick, do I want to learn in person? Do I want to learn virtually? How quickly do I want to learn? What kind of focus do I want to have in my coaching? So there's many, 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 many places you can go and find the school that's organized in a way that meets your learning style and the kind of work you want to be doing in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And does Seven Paths Forward help with training?
We do more advanced training. So all the training we do is for people that are already trained as a coach and are looking for advanced training to build up their skills, because that's a place in the market that's very quiet. There's a ton of opportunity and places to go for people that want to get started as a coach. But
Yes.
that's not our niche.
No, 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 no. And I'm really interested in how you help coaches in that way. I'm definitely going to look into it myself to, to upskill and to learn more and more how to be an effective coach. And thank you so much for your time today, David. It's so wonderful diving deep into your brain and learning about you and your work as a coach, because personally, I've just had such an amazing experience getting to know you and having you coach me.
It's been a treat to get to know you, and I'm so excited to see what's ahead of you and all the impact you're going to make. I think you perform miracles and help people perform their own miracles, and we need more of those in the world. So accelerating and advancing the impact you make is a great way to make a difference.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much. And guys, if you want to check out David's work, number 7, pathsforward.com, and I'll put all the information in the show notes. And I'll see you next time. Thanks again, David.
Thanks so much for having me, Amanda. Great to be with you.
Thank you for joining us for another inspiring episode of Bend Like Bamboo. I hope the stories and insights shared today have sparked new ideas about resilience, the power of your mind, and the importance of flexibility in your own life. If you have enjoyed this episode, I'd be grateful if you could rate and share it with others who might benefit from these powerful conversations. Whether you're facing challenges in your health, career, or personal life, I hope that the lessons we explore here can help you to develop a more resilient mindset and adaptable approach. If you would like to know more about kinesiology, my new book, or how the Bend Like Bamboo program can help you or your team, please reach out by booking a free discovery chat on my website, BendLikeBamboo.com. Thank you for being part of my community, and until next time, keep bending your way to a happy, healthy you.